Well, the dominant theme this month for you, Leo, is definitely money, with your ruling planet, inverted commas. We know the sun's not a planet. We refer to it as a planet just for convenience and convention. The new moon, which is the conjunction of the moon and your ruler, the sun, in the second house of finance, taking place on the 1st. This is an eclipse, so it's a very, very powerful new moon. And this new moon is followed up later in the month on the, I believe, the 17th with a full moon in the 8th house, which is shared resources. Along with that, that's also going to be an eclipse. So the 2nd and 8th house axis is very, very powerfully activated, with Mercury and Jupiter also in your second house of finance. Mercury is retrograde as the month begins. So as well as all those powerful energies pushing you in the direction of earning and getting more money, you've got that delaying factor there with Mercury, which happens to be the ruler of the second house. So what does this all mean? Well, it can mean that you have to be a very, very patient Leo. If it's money you're waiting on and money you're hoping to earn, new opportunity to increase your bank balance and cash flow, Mercury will throw a spanner in the works up until the 22nd, when it moves into a direct motion again. Now, what this normally means is that in your case, Mercury ruling your finances, and also all of these planets in the second house. So I'm reasonably confident in the prediction here that most of your energy is focused on money. And Mercury moving in retrogression is a revisionary sort of energy that causes you to go back over things. There may be some errors or things haven't gone to plan, and you have to, use a revisionary approach to saying, well, how can I improve this? The plan itself may be flawed, and if you don't get that right, of course, then things are going to fall apart later down the track. And this is particularly important if you're engaged in any sort of business activity, independent business, because you need to make certain that the way you're acquiring your money and your clients is based on a solid foundation. And the 10th house of your horoscope, which has to do with this career element while I'm on it, is Venus. So your 10th house of career is ruled by Taurus and Venus. Venus is in a beautiful position now in the 3rd house, and the 3rd house really has a lot to do with communication and contracts. So whilst the opportunity is there to improve yourself, Mercury, the finance ruler, shows, yes, the opportunity's there, but the money side of things is just not quite there, and you need to really, really work on that. So let's take a look at that. Opportunities are there. As it moves into its retrogression, we see Mercury moving into the conjunction of Jupiter on the 3rd, just quickly following up on that eclipse in the 2nd house, then moves into the disputational square of Mars, which we see in your 5th house. Now, the 5th house is very speculative, and I've spoken a lot about the Mars and Saturn conjunction over the past few months. That has now passed. If you saw the opening video here, the introduction to the month, I spoke about how this conjunction is laden with frustration, with anger, and although for you the conjunction has passed, the right angle that's forming by the retrograde Mercury could revive a lot of that. You may not have completed the dispute. You may not have really got to the bottom of what it is that's causing you your problems financially. And the fact that it's taking place in your 5th house, this is the house of speculation. So your disputes may be arising as a result of your desire to push through with a financial agenda that is not in keeping with the agenda of someone else. Fifth house is also your love affairs or your children. So let me give you an example. If you're working with a child in a business, you've given them some sort of latitude in terms of management. They may be at odds with you over the way the business is run or the way the money should be spent. You know, they want to spend 20% on the marketing, you want to spend 5% on the marketing. But on a more personal note, the speculation could be stock market, you know, throwing your money into things that you believe are going to give you a good result when in fact Mercury is telling you, hey, hang on, you need to revise your plans, look a little more carefully and think carefully, especially with the malefics Mars and Saturn still, although not in exact conjunction, separating, still there, impacting upon your speculative area. On a creative note, this is better for you now that this conjunction has passed, and you'll start to see as the month proceeds a much nicer energy there. When Venus moves to your fourth house, which is the sign of Scorpio, on the 24th, that'll be after the full moon, which is taking place in the sign of Pisces, and for you, that's the 8th house we talked about, shared resources, banking, taxes, annuities, also to some extent investments along with that 5th house. We see that this is tied in with the transit of Venus in your 4th house of property. So property matters come to the fore later on in the month for you. Venus in the 4th house is nice. It brings with it a sense of confidence, peace, and better results at home. As I said earlier, it rules your professional sector. So connecting the dots there, we see the professional house connected to your domestic house. So there could be some work that's conducted from home, setting up an office in home. For those of you that haven't yet gone into business, some of these revisionary and financial aspects may relate to starting a business on the domestic front. So any of these types of effects and results are possible with the transits as we see them. What else do we have there for you later in the month? Well, the really nice one on the 26th, which is about to finish the month, is that moving transit of your ruler, the Sun with Jupiter, which is also an excellent 5th house ruler, the ruler of the fire sign Sagittarius. This brings with it in your finance sector the expansive energy you need to move forward, the bright optimistic vibe that will take you out of the month of September into next month. And that brings me to my cue, which is to thank you for joining me and to ask you to hopefully come back next month. But in the meantime, take a visit to astrology.com.au to get further detailed analysis on this month and the rest of the year for that matter. Thanks again. Take care now. Bye-bye.